الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب السماوات والأرض رب العالمين. وله الكبرياء في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. ربنا لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ولك الحمد إذا رضيت، ولك الحمد بعد الرضا. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيد الأولين والآخرين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله وأمين ووحيه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, all praise and glory and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything we have, وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِّعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. This is something that we need to remind ourselves all the time and remind one another that anything good that is happening in your life, or any good news, any success, any achievement, it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that should make you more grateful, more thankful, more humble, and then gives you more responsibility. Why? Because the more you have, the greater will be your responsibility. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما آتاها. Allah does not ask people to do more than what they have, more than what their resources allow them to do. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما آتاها. And also remember that all your needs are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like it when you are not doing dua. So dua is a very essential ibadah. It's not luxury. It's not extra thing to do. So you don't think that it's okay that you're not making dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like it if you're not asking. Why ibadah? Dua it's a great act of worship because you're showing your dependence. You're showing your need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're acknowledging that He can do things for you. And so keep that in mind. Shukr and dua. These are things that you have to be doing as much as possible. My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, in this time, the world, as you know, is full of trouble everywhere and very depressing events. During these circumstances, it's easy and it's typical for people to get depressed and confused. Depressed and confused. Confused, don't know what's going on, why, what's happening, who's right and who's wrong. That's confusion. Depressed is when you start giving up hope that things, and this route is very easy and very tempting. Muriyah makes you comfortable. Things are hopeless, and find somebody to blame or find any justification and move on. But that's not the proper attitude of the believers. It's very tempting also to lose interest, saying there is no point. So falling in despair, giving up hope, and losing interest or being confused are not the proper attitude of the believer. Should not be the reaction of the believers. Why? Because we Muslims, we are, or at least we are supposed to be, on a mission in this life. That's why we were created. We have a job, we have a task to fulfill, and nothing should distract us from doing it. So we have to stay focused on our mission. We have a clear mission with a clear goal, and clear directions. So we are not allowed to be confused. We can. We have a clear mission and clear goal. What is our ultimate goal? Is to meet Allah while He is pleased with us. And Allah should not allow anything to distract you from that goal, which is to pursue and seek Ridwanullah, the biggest prize and the greatest prize. So we have clear goals, we have clear destinations, and we have clear directions. And that's, by the way, a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a reward for the good believers. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Anfal, إِن تَتَّقُوا اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ فُرْقَانًا. Those who are pious, Allah will give them that ability to distinguish truth from falsehood. إِن تَتَّقُوا اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ فُرْقَانًا, which is enable you not to be confused, to be resistant to confusion. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised why you shouldn't fall in despair, why you shouldn't be depressed, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised those who are pursuing His Ridwan, those who are trying, striving to make Allah is pleased with them. What did Allah promise? To guide them to the ways of peace. يَهْدِي بِهِ اللَّهُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ رِضْوَانَهُ. You will find that peace of mind even when everybody around you is confused and depressed. It doesn't mean that you don't care. No. There is a big difference between being careless or indifferent and between keeping that peace, internal peace, regardless of what is happening. يَهْدِي بِهِ اللَّهُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ رِضْوَانَهُ. Those who are pursuing Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to guide them to the ways of peace. So we, again, because we are on a mission, or we're supposed to be on a mission, we are committed to fulfill the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's something that we established now, that if you are serious, and we should be serious about pursuing one Allah, then you have to be working hard to fulfill the purpose of Allah. These two are one package. You can't get one without the other. Muradullah, Ridwanullah. You are serious about pursuing Ridwanullah, then you have to be working to fulfill Muradullah. Infad Muradullah. These cannot be disconnected. I know that many Muslims were able to disconnect them. They found a way. Some people are taking Ridwanullah for granted, so they disconnected the two. Some people, they say Allah is forgiving and merciful, so we should be okay. We don't have to do much. All of this is nonsense. All of this are illusion. People are fooling themselves. You are serious about pursuing Ridwanullah, you have to be equally serious in fulfilling the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To do whatever it takes and be wherever you need to be, wherever you need to be, or wherever you are expected to be. Those who have this attitude or this mindset that I have a mission in this life, I need to fulfill it to the best of my ability, because before it's too late, because time is running, the clock is ticking, and every day we have less time left. So those who have this attitude, nothing will shake their commitment and nothing will make them lose their way. So that's what makes a believer resistant to confusion, resistant to distraction, resistance to despair. Why? Because you are focused on a life mission that has clear goals and clear purposes. And also, Islam gives us a way to deal with all circumstances. Islam has a prescription that helps you to cope and deal with all circumstances. It's a very simple one, by the way. It's you meet ease and blessing with gratitude, with shukr, and you meet hardship and difficulty with patience. It's a recipe of two medicine, shukr and sabr. Any event that happens to you, you are blessed with something good, your response will be shukr. You go through difficulty, your response will be patience and perseverance. And the Rasul ﷺ said, if you do that, you are in a win-win situation. عجبا لأمر المؤمن إن أمره إلا كله خير. إن أصابته السراء فشكر فكان خيرا له وإن أصابته الضراء فصبر فكان خيرا له. That all matters of believer are good. If he's tested or affected by a blessing and respond with gratitude, that's good for him, the believer. And if he's tested with hardship and respond with patience, that's also good for him. And we don't choose our tests. You don't say, I don't like this test. And when you go to take an exam and they give you the test, you don't say, no, give me another one. This is the wrong one. We don't do that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't choose our tests, we choose how to react with them and how to deal with them. So everything, if you are on track, everything should bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From different angles. Ease and favors and blessings will bring you closer to Allah from the door of shukr, makes you more grateful, and allow you to do more fi sabilillah, because the more Allah gives you, the more you are capable, and that's good for you. And hardship and difficulty will bring you closer to Allah from the door of sabr. إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Those who are patient, they have unlimited rewards. It's not like 100 or 700. This verse says, إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. They will have unlimited rewards. Of course, when I say patience, it doesn't mean that you don't hold yourself accountable for what happens to you. Because that's a big mistake that we keep committing. Anything that goes wrong in your life, as an individual or as a community or as a nation or anything, the Quranic approach is to blame yourself. قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. You only have yourself to blame. فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ. It is the work of your own hands. That's what Quran says. So don't look around to blame someone. Don't try to find excuse. Look inside. Ask yourself, what is it that I have done wrong? Whether it is a sin from which you need to seek forgiveness, like istighfar, or misjudgment or miscalculation. You made a bad decision, and that brought you to this point. So you hold yourself accountable, sabr, and that's the magic of this deen and this Quran. Brings two things that looks contradictory and reconcile between the two. You just were saying that we need just to be patient. No, you need to be patient, but also you need to hold yourself accountable. They go hand in hand. They're not mutually exclusive. You meet with patience, and then you start the process of self-assessment. Because that's what Quran tells you. It is the work of your own hands, and you only have yourself to blame. Two verses. فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ, and then قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. How this can be helpful for you? That can turn a difficulty into an opportunity. Why? Because you will learn, if you do this exercise, you will learn your lessons. And when you learn your lessons, you will not repeat your mistakes. And when you don't repeat your mistakes, you'll be a better person. So that's the true attitude of a believer, that everything makes you a better person and everything brings you closer to Allah. Unlike the one who is not on track. Favors can make them arrogant. Ni'am, blessings, money, power, whatever can make them arrogant. They miss the test, they fail. And hardship or difficulty can make them either desperate or depressed. They fail the test. Or they blame it on somebody and they don't learn their lessons, they don't benefit from that experience. That's also failure of the test. So we have a prescription that no matter what happens to you, you know why it happened, you understand, and then you know how to deal with it. Ni'am, blessings, favors, has to be met with gratitude. And then do more fi sabilillah. Because now you have more. You have more, then you have to do more fi sabilillah. That makes you a better person and brings you closer to Allah. Hardship and difficulty can help you in two ways. One, tests your patience and perseverance, and number two, the self-assessment. Let me review. What is it that I have done wrong? What bad decision I made? What miscalculation? And what do I learn from it? It's very important that this approach, it's a Quranic approach, it is implemented by many other nations, non-Muslims, individuals and nations. That's why they don't repeat mistakes, and they're progressing all the time. You see them committing a mistake, and then because there is an assessment and evaluation and documentation and accountability, there are people who are replaced. Those who made that decision, they will take responsibility. That's why nations are progressing. You shift to the Muslim world, very unfortunate. Individuals don't learn, keep repeating mistakes, and nations, you can see it. So doing the same thing, the same way, and we're expecting different results. Our history, old and recent, full of miscalculations. Things that we plan in our heads, not based on data and statistics and facts. We just wishful thinking. Let's go and inshallah things will work out. There is no such thing in Islam. It did not happen to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his community. He did not say, I'm migrating to Medina, I don't need to plan, Allah will protect me. He never said that. And Quran made it very clear that in the Battle of Uhud, they were victorious in the first part, they were defeated in the second part, and Quran explained to them that it's not because you are Muslims you're gonna get it made. If this came to your mind, you need to fix it. Because many companions were worried, shocked. Why? Because they were victorious in Badr, and their understanding at that time is because they are Muslims, Allah will help them all the time, even if they don't plan correctly. Allah will do the job for them. And Quran was very clear, that's not the case. It's not going to happen that way. There are two conditions for the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If they are not met, you are on your own. Even if you are the most pious believer. One is doing things with the sincere intention. You do it fi sabilillah. You shouldn't have any other intentions. It's not like you need the spoils of war or ghanaim. Minkum man yuridu dunya wa minkum man yuridu al-akhirah. Quran addressing the companions. Some of you, they want the hereafter. Some of you are after worldly gains. So that was lost. And two, you're going to have to do everything you can and do it right. And as I always say, plan as if you are relying on your plans. And then once you do everything you can, shift to rely on Allah completely as if you have no plan. And that's what Rasul did in Hijrah, in migration. He planned it very carefully. But when they were in the cave and Quraysh was walking around the cave, and Abu Bakr Siddiq said, that's it. If anyone looks down, they're going to see us. Rasul said, what do you think is going to happen? Don't worry. La tahzan. Allah is with us. Don't worry. What do you think is going to happen to two people Allah is there for? When did Rasul say this? When there is nothing more he can do. But he did not say it when he was planning very carefully his migration. You can imagine that the Prophet ﷺ doing that, making that plan that nowadays and we don't even come close to it. He did not leave any details. Very careful, took care of all details for the planning, but then when there is nothing more he can do, he shifted to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try your best. I know it's not easy, we are all a human being, but we all should try our best to master this equation. When you plan, forget about you are Muslim, forget about that Allah will do things for you because He never promised to do that. Plan very carefully, better than anybody else. But then once you exhaust all the means, and there is nothing more you can do, then put all your trust in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you have no plan. So that's just to make sure that people don't get it wrong, that everything that happens to us, it's a ibtila, trial, it's not our fault, it's not our problem, and we just have to be patient. Yes, you have to be patient, but don't forget the other part also, which is to hold yourself accountable or hold those who make the decisions accountable. So believers also know that this is the nature of life. Why we shouldn't be confused or depressed? Because we should not be surprised. Quran tells us clearly that this life is dar ibtila, test ground. As long you're living, you're going to be tested. What does this do? That takes away the element of surprise. Because you know that you're in a testing room, so you expect to be tested. You expect to be tested, and Quran repeatedly is telling us this is going to happen. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين. We shall certainly test you. You just read the Quran. We shall certainly test you with fear, hunger, and loss of properties, lives, and crops. And then give good news to whom? To those who remain steadfast. To those who وبشر الصابرين. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَتُبْلَوُنَّ in Surah Al-Imran. You are sure to be tested through your possessions and through your person. لَتُبْلَوُنَّ فِي أَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ لَتُبْلَوُنَّ. So clear. So that takes away the element of shock or the element of surprise. You're going to be always, that tests are coming. And you're going to be tested in different ways. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Mulk, خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا, to test you who is the best in deeds. ولنبلونكم حتى نعلم المجاهدين منكم والصابرين ونبلو أخباركم. Surah Muhammad. ولنبلونكم again حتى نعلم المجاهدين منكم والصابرين ونبلو أخباركم. We shall test you. You can see verses, can go on and on, by the way. There are other verses that are less explicit, but these are very explicit. We shall test you to see which of you strive your hardest and steadfast. Should test you to know who is the more steadfast and strive your hardest. We shall test the sincerity of your assertions, of your claims. Because anybody can claim anything. But when things are proved in testing. So testing tells you, even yourself, how good your iman is, how solid your relationship is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So testing is very revealing. It's like a student who thinks that they understood the material, and they go to the test and they found themselves no. There are some sections and some chapters that still need work. Why? Because they could not answer the questions in the test. So the test in this case revealed for the students some of their deficiency and shortcoming, and therefore it was good. So tests, it's not like we should be asking to be tested. No, should never. But when it happens, you need to try to turn it into an opportunity. How do you turn it into opportunity? Patience. Number one, self-assessment. Number two, lessons learned. Number three, and then move on. Because if you do these things, then you are a winner. Even though we don't ask to be tested, but when we are tested, patience, self-assessment. And if it is collective thing, holding the people who are in charge accountable. Because nobody should try to fool us saying that things just happened. No, things did not just happen. Things happened because of some bad decision and miscalculation. So the people need to be patient because it is trial for them and preparation, but the leaders and the decision makers, no. They should be held accountable for those decisions. Actually, even the people bear some responsibility, especially if they elect those leaders or if they accept their miscalculations and their decision and don't hold them accountable. So even those who are accepting dictatorship or justifying the miscalculations of leaders, they have responsibility for what happens to them. So we need to keep that delicate balance between patience but also self-assessment, holding those who make decisions accountable, lessons learned, documented, and then this will make you a better individual, make you a better community, a better family if you do this exercise all the time. So we are on a mission, and we know that this life is the test ground, and we know that this life is also strive for perfection. Sa'yun nahwa al-kamal. As long you're living, you should try to be a better person every day. That's an essential part of our mission. What is called tazkiyah in Islam, it's basically Allah. You want Allah to be pleased with you? You should try to be a better person every day. It's a very simple recipe or prescription. Allah wants to see you a better person every day. A better worshipper, a better spouse, a better parent, a better in your profession, your health is better. Anything in uridu illa al-islah. I only desire your betterment, because that encapsulates the mission of Islam and the mission of believers, which is al-islah. So no surprises, nothing should distract you or confuse you, or because of this prescription that we are mentioning. We have a prescription to deal with what happens to us and avoid and resist any confusion or any trend toward being depressed or stressed out. Now, another reason, part of prescriptions, and this is something that we need to check ourselves against. Quran describes believers as people who are consistent, persistent, focused. There is no up and down. There is no distraction. Just listen to these verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Imran describes believers as those who ينفقون في السراء والضراء. ينفقون في السراء والضراء. Those who give both in prosperity and in adversity. They are always generous. They share even they have little. That tells you the nature of a believer. Someone who is steadfast and focused, and it's not someone who's like reactionary. ينفقون في السراء والضراء. That's one verse. There are many verses, just picking some. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah says, وَالصَّابِرِينَ فِي الْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَحِينَ الْبَأْسِ. صابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس. Those who are steadfast in misfortune, adversity, and times of danger. You can see they give in prosperity and adversity, and they are steadfast in all circumstances. That's, if you don't find yourself, if this does not apply to you, then you have work to do, because that's the attitude of true believer. Consistent, persistent, nothing will distract you, nothing will shake that commitment, nothing will confuse you, and nothing will depress you. Actually, the Quran goes even more than that. It tells us that these events, incidents, that depresses people or make them confused, increases the iman of the believers. Something that is hard to imagine. الذين قال لهم الناس إن الناس قد جمعوا لكم فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا. They were told that people are gathering against you. What was the reaction? Their iman has increased. الذين قال لهم الناس إن الناس قد جمعوا لكم فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا وقالوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. ولما رأى المؤمنون الأحزاب. When Muslims have seen the Confederate, all tribes of the Arabian Peninsula. They developed an alliance and a huge army, and they came to Medina to exterminate the Muslim community in Medina. Can you think of a situation harder than this? That's what was the response of the believers. ولما رأى المؤمنون الأحزاب قالوا هذا ما وعدنا الله ورسوله وصدق الله ورسوله وما زادهم إلا إيمانا وتسليما. Can you imagine a situation like this increases the iman of people? So no confusion, no despair, it's the other way around. Steadfast, but also even a step higher, which is that it increases the iman. So Muslims should keep that serenity, should stay focused, should stay steadfast in all circumstances, in spite of everything that you are seeing. And that requires to adopt the Islamic approach and the Islamic prescription that we started a few weeks ago, the prescription for happiness and success in this life and in the hereafter, that inshallah we're going to continue discussing it today and in the future, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us life and a chance to do it Allah in our life. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونتوب إليه نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, just to remind you that the first item in that prescription, there is a prescription that guarantees you success and happiness in this life and in hereafter, is to always remember, is one, to make Ridwanullah your ultimate goal and your guiding priority. You make all your decisions based on that. Whatever brings you closer, move you forward in the direction of Ridwanullah, you do it. Whatever is going to push you back or distract you, you avoid it. Number two is to remember always, remember and remind yourself and remind each other that we are in this life on a mission with clear goals. We are on a mission with clear goals and we have the directions in the Quran. So a clear destination. Our destination is Ridwanullah and the directions are in the Quran. And in order to seek Ridwanullah, we need to work hard to fulfill the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to happen on earth becomes your work, your job and my job. To do our best to make it happen. And whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's an honor and responsibility. It's an honor to be doing a lot of work. But Allah wants something to happen and you and I are working to make it happen. It's a great honor and great responsibility. So our main task in this life is to understand and fulfill that task or that job that we created to fulfill to the best of our ability. Understand your job description, understand your task in this life and your mission, and fulfill it to the best of your ability. That's your main task, and once you do that, everything will fall in place as inshallah we'll come back and discuss in more details. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وتوفنا وراض عنا واختم بالصالحات أعمالنا واجعل خير أعمالنا خواتمها وخير أيامنا يوم نلقاك. ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربونا صغارا وارحم موتانا وجميع موتى المسلمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد